and cool and collected at basically all times. That reputation is what made it all the more striking today to see the hot fire with which Chris Coons responded when news broke today that the president had fired the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, and instead installed a White House loyalist named Matt Whitaker to take over the operations of the Justice Department and the Mueller investigation specifically. He responded online, quote, "If there's any indication that the president has fired the Attorney General and named Mr. Whitaker as acting Attorney General to influence or end Special Counsel Mueller's investigation, that would make today's action an historic attack on the rule of law." Quote, "That is a red line which President Trump has been warned not to cross by Republicans and Democrats alike for months." Joining us now is Senator Chris Coons from the great state of Delaware, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Coons, thank you for making time to join us tonight, sir.
Thank you, Rachel.
You called this action by the president today a red line if this appointment was made in order to influence or end the special counsel's investigation. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
That's right. If he forced out Attorney General Jeff Sessions and replaced him not with Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, but instead with a loyalist, Matthew Whitaker, in order to have Acting Attorney General Whitaker squeeze or end the investigation by Robert Mueller, that would be an obstruction of justice action. And there have been some strong words by senators, both Republican and Democrat, for months, cautioning President Trump against interfering with the Mueller investigation. Many senators have said if the president is innocent, it's in his best interest to have this investigation go all the way to its conclusion. There were some more statements today by Senator-elect Mitt Romney, by Senator Lamar Alexander, by Senator Susan Collins, by many Democrats as well, saying the president should not interfere. But if, as your previous guest indicated, there's a decisive step taken to curtail the scope and the reach, the funding or the support of the Mueller investigation, that would be a decisive moment, and we would need to match these words with action. I'm calling on the Senate to take up and vote on and pass the bipartisan bill that I introduced last year with 3 other senators. It's already passed the Senate Judiciary Committee by a strong bipartisan vote of 14-7. It's ready for action on the floor. And this strikes me as the sort of moment that should precipitate bipartisan action in the Senate.
The kind of worry that you're describing there, that action would be taken to influence, curtail, defund, otherwise stop the Mueller investigation. How would you know if that had happened? I mean, one of the things that has become a hallmark of this investigation is that the special counsel's office is incredibly tight-lipped. We know them by their public actions and not by their words. If there was action taken, even today already within the Justice Department, to kibosh some element of the investigation or to divert it or slow something down, how would we know?
That's part of my concern here, Rachel, is that we don't have any direct way to know that. We'd only find out about it if there were people directly connected with the Mueller probe who allowed that to be shared. And as you mentioned, they've been extraordinarily tight-lipped and have controlled information from getting outside that probe. Robert Mueller is a decorated combat veteran. He's a lifelong Republican. He's a by-the-book federal law enforcement leader. He's run a very tight ship, and he hasn't had leaks, unlike virtually every previous independent investigation like this. So we might not know, and we might not be able to act in time to defend that investigation. I'll just remind you, the only reason we're having this conversation is because President Trump fired FBI Director Jim Comey and then went on television and said he did so in order to stop the Russia probe. That's what led to the appointment of a special counsel. It was broadly supported in a bipartisan way last year. This is likely going to be the kind of moment when we have to put up or shut up, and it's going to call for actions by senators of both parties.
If Mr. Whitaker has been told or is soon advised by ethics lawyers at the Justice Department that he cannot ethically oversee this investigation, his public statements criticizing the investigation in effect declare his bias in a way that he can't ethically oversee it. If he defies that advice, or if we come to learn that he received that advice and ignored it, does the Judiciary Committee or any other element of the U.S. government have any way to correct that?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we could certainly call Acting Attorney General Whitaker in front of the Judiciary Committee. I think he should appear in front of us to answer questions about his intentions with regard to the Mueller probe and other issues. We have an oversight responsibility where there's a new acting attorney general. I think it'd be completely appropriate for Chairman Grassley to invite him to come over and answer some of these questions. But in the minority, Democrats on the committee can't compel him to come and testify. We can simply raise the issue, press the issue. One of my concerns here is that as we move into the next Congress, our margin in the Senate may get worse. We've lost probably 2 seats, maybe 3 in the Senate in terms of the Democrat-Republican balance, and that may affect our ability to bring together a bipartisan group that'll compel action even further.
Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Sir, thank you. I know it's a very, very busy time. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right. As I mentioned, tomorrow, a lot of groups across the country who have been preparing for this moment are calling for protests across